next few days. In an effort to ramp up official testing, the Georgia Department of Health is now setting up kiosks, and we were able to get our first look at one of the 9 locations in Metro Atlanta this afternoon. All you have to do is register before the machine dispenses the test kit. It's all free. Once you swab your nose, you put the sample back into the kiosk for testing. These are PCR tests, so you will not receive your results right away, but you should know your answer within 48 hours. Officials say these kiosks will be available 24/7 so people can be tested whenever they need to.
If a test site is open for a certain number of hours per day, you may be working during those hours, but you still want to come get tested or have a need to get tested. And so we wanted to offer this kind of solution so that you can come get tested whenever you feel it's necessary.
For a full list of locations and what you need to know, just check out this story on 11alive.com. The federal government's free meal waiver is now over, and that means students will need to pay for food at school. Coming up next, the options districts have in place to make sure your child does not go hungry.
The first day of school, not changing the market very much.
It was so crazy strong that even if you back off a little bit on it, it's still a strong market. The market will still be strong. It'll soften a bit. There will be downward pressure on prices.
Professor Black says right now houses are staying on the market a little bit longer, which could be softening the market. But the problem is demand. He says we are still seeing demand for homes in Atlanta higher than the number of homes available. So we can verify, yes, it is still a seller's market in Atlanta.
Police believe the man killed a woman in her early 60s at the Cosby Spear high-rise apartments. This is a facility for handicapped seniors about a couple of blocks away from that park. And police say they just got a call just before 1:30 this afternoon. They would not say how the man and the woman knew each other, but call this an isolated incident. The interim police chief says that the combination of anger and handguns led to the deadly scenes today, but he credited several calls to 911 which helped piece it all together.
Our ability to get a clear picture of what occurred today was because citizens took note of something that was unusual and made a 911 call and provided us very critical information to this investigation.
And police are calling this a senseless tragedy, and despite the heavy police presence out there, the interim police chief is stressing how safe parks can be here in Atlanta. And police say a man was found dead near an apartment complex in southwest Atlanta. This was the scene on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. This is right off of Interstate 20. You can see the crime scene investigators collecting evidence around that black sedan. Police tell 11 Alive that they found one man dead. The cause of that death is still under investigation. And a man is in surgery tonight after a shooting near Atlantic Station in Midtown Atlanta. Atlanta police responded to an apartment on 17th Street and State Street. It happened around 12:30 this afternoon. Officers tell 11 Alive that some friends were playing with a handgun when it went off. A man in his 20s was shot. New tonight, Governor Brian Kemp says week reportedly because state law requires the event to allow firearms at Piedmont Park. 11 Alive's Doug Richards spoke with the governor today.
Governor Kemp says because new businesses are taking root here in Georgia, it is, he says, a distraction to suggest that Georgia's gun or abortion laws are making business here more difficult.
I'm glad you're here.
At 2 campaign stops in North Georgia, Governor Kemp talked up highlights from his 4 years in office.
We have had 2 years of record economic development and job growth in our state.
But he stayed mum on gun laws that he's helped expand. It was a 2014 gun law under Governor Nathan Deal that cited for the shutdown of this year's Music Midtown, a law that would have forced the event to allow guns onto the festival site. So we asked Kemp,
any regrets about Music Midtown leaving in response apparently to a gun law?
Well, look, you would have to talk to them about why they canceled the venue. There's 20-something other states that have concealed carry laws. There's music festivals that have gone on in them. They've gone on in the state of Georgia.
And Kemp says businesses continue to locate in Georgia, even as the state broadens gun rights and restricts abortion rights. The governor's stance on gun rights doesn't apply at the state capitol, where state troopers screen visits and disallow firearms. It also doesn't apply at Sanford Stadium, where state law says college football patrons can't carry guns. But Kemp says even that's open to
With
discussion.
Georgians, this is an issue, concealed carry, that I campaigned on. I'm fulfilling my promises, and Georgians know that.
Does it make sense that a private event like Music Midtown would be unable to screen for firearms when you're able to do that at the state capitol and at Sanford Stadium and other?
Well, that will be a policy decision that, we can discuss when the General Assembly gets back in.
Kemp ran for governor in 2018 as a backer of gun rights. His strategy is not changing in this year's rematch with Abrams. In Rabun County, Doug Richards, 11 Alive News.
Fired what was possibly dozens of rounds into the home, hitting a 19-year-old in the leg. We're told that teenager was taken to the hospital. He's expected to be okay. Officers on the scene are calling the incident unacceptable, and they're asking anyone with information to give them a call. Tonight, a mother is demanding an officer charged with murder.
A credible threat. All this just days before police in tactical gear on Wednesday fanned out around the site of the Future Training Center.
I think it's quite crazy.
Protesters have clashed with police in the past. Homeowners in the neighboring Boulder Walk subdivision believe the same protesters are behind vandalism in their community.
Vandalizing property and terrorizing the community is completely unhelpful.
The Atlanta Police Fund plans to build on 85 acres nearby. They'd preserve the remaining 265 acres as green space, but protesters call it an expansion of the police state. We reached out to Defend the Forest Atlanta. They did not respond. We asked DeKalb Police and APD about the recent incidents. All APD would say is, quote, Georgia Power is on the scene on Wednesday conducting repairs. DeKalb did not respond. In DeKalb County, Christopher King, Fox 5 News.
Might happen. Fox's Greg Palka has more.
Taiwan is under fire, or at least the area around it, shortly after Speaker Pelosi's high-profile visit there. China conducting unprecedented long-range live-fire precision missile strikes on a variety of targets in the waters near Taiwan. Taipei says 11 missiles were launched today. The drills, set to last 4 days, called by Beijing the biggest ever in that region, are a reaction, according to China, to that Pelosi stop. Beijing claims Taiwan as its own.
The U.S. made a malicious provocation first, whereas China's justifiable defense has come as a response.
Some of the 6 target zones overlap Taiwan's maritime borders and are close to its coastline. Missiles even flew over the island before splashing down. The exercises include 10 ships, over 100 planes, helicopters, and drones. Flights and shipping in the region disrupted. Taiwan's military is on alert. Officials there call the drills an invasion of its territorial space.
We will firmly defend sovereignty and national security and stand by the line of democracy and freedom.
U.S. ally Japan even says Chinese missiles hit what it calls its exclusive economic zone, a big area, but still a first. This as the U.S. has Ronald Reagan Aircraft Carrier Group and other U.S. naval assets remain deployed in the seas near Taiwan. Speaking out against China's use of force at a conference in Asia, Secretary of State Blinken.
I hope very much that Beijing will not manufacture a crisis or seek a pretext to increase its aggressive military activity.
In fact, critics say the Biden administration mishandled the Pelosi visit, contributing to the current crisis. They also say the U.S. has to be strong with Beijing to make sure an apparent dress rehearsal for invasion doesn't turn into the real thing.
I believe they will invade Taiwan sometime in the future if the United States does not make it clear that we will not accept a Chinese invasion of Taiwan.
Late today, White House National Security spokesman John Kirby confirmed that the U.S. has postponed a Minuteman ICBM missile launch planned for this week at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. This an effort to ease tensions heightened by those military exercises around Taiwan. Critics say it's another example of the Biden administration backing away from China when it should be leaning in. Some tough